Hello and welcome to a special segment of Neocache Radio where I'm going to review how to update the Ledger Nano S to the latest firmware. Ledger has released a couple of new firmwares recently, 1.4.1 and the current latest 1.4.2. So I'll be covering how to go about and upgrade that. We're going to go to the Ledger page and we'll have this link, and it's going to show everything that's new with version 1.4.1. So one of the biggest things that's new is that the number of apps that can be loaded onto the Ledger device has increased, and they've done that by way of using similar code base for things like Bitcoin Cash, Dash has a lot of similar code, so they're able to reduce the apps that go on the Ledger, and they can go up to 18 depending on which ones they are. There's also some additional security enhancements, including how the custom certificate authority is available now only on the recovery mode. So soon after that, Ledger announced firmware version 1.4.2. And 1.4.2 improved user security with things like providing a user PIN. When you start to enter in your PIN, it's going to be randomized. It's not going to start at 5. As well as when doing the recovery phrase, you're going to need to enter in all 24 words when initiating a new Ledger device instead of just a few of the words, 3. So now you have to do all 24. It does make it a little longer, but it's much more secure. So let's get into it. And we'll have links for all these pages. So on the Ledger page, we're going to follow this guide on how to update the Ledger Nano S firmware. So what I'm going to do next is connect a Ledger device. Here I have the Ledger device, and I'm now going to enter the PIN code, and we're going to check the firmware. So settings, and then double press device and firmware. So this is on the 1.3.1 firmware. Which has additional steps to get to 1.4.2. So by starting with this Ledger, we'll be able to go through all the versions. Okay, next is we need to launch the Ledger Manager page, where they have the Ledger Manager Wallet app. So we're going to install this, and then we're going to launch it. Okay, so once it connects, you can see that there's new firmware available. Okay, so we're back to the page that has the step-by-step instructions. It has to launch the Ledger Manager, which we've done here. And then next thing we're going to do is follow the steps to uninstall all of the applications. So we're going to remove the apps that are on this device. It will prompt you to approve removing it. So now that we've done that, we're going to go to firmwares, and we're going to install version 1.4.2. And we're at the screen here that is installing the OS updater. Okay, now we're going to match the update identifier. So here we have 4A1A ending in 637, and that's what I see on the display, so I'm going to approve that. It's then going to prompt me for my PIN code. So now I have MCU firmwares updated. I'm going to double press. Alright, so it now must be updated. It's going to give you this message that the MCU must be updated, and I press the double. Using the Ledger Manager app, press and hold 5 seconds the button close to the USB when you plug in. So that's going to be this button. So we're going to disconnect. I'm going to hold the button closest to the USB, plug it in, and now it's telling me that there's a bootloader. And you can see on the screen now it's restoring the latest MCU. So since this was on 131, this is the step that we're at. We have to get this MCU firmware updated. It's now, we've gone through that. It's now rebooting and processing the actual firmware install. Okay, it's now restarted. It's asking me for my PIN code again. We've reconnected, and it's telling us to install the apps on our Ledger device using the instructions at startledger.wallet.com. So now we go back to the Ledger Manager app, and I have to reinstall on the Ledger the cryptocurrency apps that I want to install. So let's start with Bitcoin. The recommendation is to always start with Bitcoin, and that's because some of the other wallets like Litecoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash have some code base based on Bitcoin. So it's going to ask us to approve that. It's now installing Bitcoin. Okay, so next is Bitcoin Cash. Now you'll notice that I don't need to approve after the first one. Okay, so now the apps are installed. Let's go on ahead and verify the firmware and the MCU versions. So we're going to go back to settings, double press, device, firmware. Okay, firmware is 1.4.2, the latest, and the MCU is 1.5, the latest. So this update is now completed. And that's what it takes to update a Ledger Nano S.